I think I have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And this seems like one of those very instructive type of positions. So that's why I picked up I think I have the right idea.
Okay.
Um, Basically, we must have identified that the major weakness black has, it seems like the hole on C6, that square,
Mm-hmm.
right? We want that C6 square really, and we want the C file as much. So what are all the things guarding C6? Knight, queen, bishop, potentially a rook. We want to try to
Mm-hmm.
see if we can remove as many of those defenders of C6 as possible so we can install something on C6. And that'll
Mm-hmm.
be a really good square for our knight, rook, whatever, right? So
Yeah.
I'm thinking that if that's the goal, why don't we try to force that in this scenario, which I think we can. Something like queen d4. We're threatening f4
Mm-hmm.
next if he doesn't do anything. And if the queens are traded, then we can follow up with f4 anyway, push the knight away, and take advantage of the c file and install that knight on c6.
Yeah, that is the correct plan in the position. So we actually need to play f4 and also gain access to c6. So basically, I think if you remove this defender of c6, things becomes much easier for us. So
Right.
queen d4 is the best move here. Well done. So I can already go to the next position here.
Okay.
Okay. It's also white to play.
I mean, I think I'm understanding the main idea, I think,
Mm-hmm.
which seems like, well, two things I noticed about this position. The first thing is that black has some dark square weaknesses all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A5, B6, C7, D6, F6, G7, F8, H8, H6, G5, etc. Everywhere. So the main defender of all those squares really is the queen and the bishop, especially the dark square bishop. So I'm thinking, how can, and we have multiple attackers of that, knight, bishop, potentially queen, potentially F4 pawn, D4 pawn. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking that if that's the case, right, how can we expose these dark squares to even more of our attackers? Like, first of all, how can we open up the bishop? And how can we introduce more attackers? How can we remove the E5 pawn? So the diagonal to the bishop becomes open, and we can try to exploit those dark square weaknesses. That's the first thing I noticed. The second thing I'm noticing is that also the knight and the rook, especially the knight, is kind of doesn't have that many good squares. It's kind of out of play. So how can I keep that knight out of play?
Okay.
That's another one of my maybe objectives. So his places are very awkwardly placed right now at this exact moment. So I want to also try to see if I can capitalize off of that scenario. Like, rook and knight are weirdly placed. And bishop, bishop can't really move that easily, right? Bishop e6, queen b7 is immediately coming, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the first moves I was considering were like d4 and f4. Try to get this e5 pawn to move. But I mean, if we play something like f4, maybe he'll try bishop g7, something like that.
Okay. But I
Um,
think here we also need to figure out how white should make progress in the position, yeah? Like white looks better, but somehow black's position also look like it's defendable. And I mean, it's obvious to see that some pieces are like, pretty like scattered away, yeah? They don't have a lot of coordination in between them. But still we are not able to make the breakthrough somehow in the position, right? So that's
right.
what we need to figure
So,
out here.
hmm. I mean, either way, I feel like the breakthrough must come from some sort of pressure to e5 to try to do two things. A, open the A1 bishop a little bit more to get access to G7, F6, these kind of squares, and B, open the F file so another attacker can join that F file, right? Like F6 is really the square I want to take over,
Yeah.
potentially. Put a knight on F6 or something like that. So, I mean, that's what I would try to do maybe. I would try to see, can I somehow play F4, force him to take or take myself or something like that, put a rook on F1, double up on the F file, and put something on either G5, like H4 and knight G5, or maybe go directly to F6. That, if you gave me like 4 or 5 moves, I would try to accomplish that.
Okay.
I don't know the drawbacks just yet because it seems like E3 will become a weakness, but maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe we don't care about E3 pawn. If E3 pawn falls, who cares, right? We're still gonna get the open F file. We're putting a rook on, I don't know, like F3 and F1. That's plenty of compensation for the E pawn, I think. So, and the good thing is F pawn is pinned, so you can't play F6 type of stuff right now. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I would start with, I could just start with F4 and then play rook F1 next, right? What will he do?
F4, I think he's gonna go bishop G7.
And if I play rook F1,
Rook F1. The idea is still the same, yeah?
my idea is to maybe
FE5 and knight F6, right?
something like that, yeah.
Okay, so I think he's gonna. I think for F4 and rook F1, he might actually take on EF4, right? Or you're gonna take with the rook after that?
Actually, oh, after bishop G7 and rook F1, you'll take?
Yeah, I thought he will take like this.
And if I take back, yeah, let's just say that.
No, but then you can
F7
take, yeah.
is hanging, right? Yeah.
F7 is hanging, yeah. Interesting. Rook F1 is something which I didn't consider to be so serious in the position, but looks like this has some threats, some serious threats as well. Yeah, just FE5 and
Right.
F6. Yeah, maybe this is actually possible as well. I mean, in the game, he did like white played slightly differently. White actually played queen b4 in the game.
Wow. Oh, I understand the idea. Same concept. Queen is a
Same
defender of
concept,
all those
yeah.
dark squares. So remove the queen. So the dark squares can be more exposed, right?
Yes. So basically, I just want to trade off and get on f6, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if like it's, I mean, how different it is, but of course, it's a bit difficult for like black to defend against so many threats. Plus, I think the only difference is that in these kind of positions, apart from f6, b6 is also like a big weakness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter just knight f6. It also matters that if I get knight d6, I will be also winning.
Mm,
I think so.
right. That's true. So after this move, if he tries to maintain the queen like queen d8 or something, then
Queen
knight
d8,
d6 is
knight d.
happening anyway.
Yeah, I think so.
And if like, does that even work? C5 or something? If he tries to play C5?
No, I mean, after, like, for example, if you play queen d8 right now, I
Mm-hmm.
think, so now obviously knight d6 bishop f8 is there, yeah? So
Right.
it's,
So you'll play queen d6 first
oh,
or something?
yeah, I will either go for queen d6 or I can also try for d4 right here.
I see. That makes sense.
I don't know, I mean, it looks very good, yeah? So actually here, I'll just insert the game here. So after queen d4, queen e6 was played in the game, and anyway d4 came. I think this was the whole point, that now basically bishop here won't work, yeah, because I can just trade up and play knight d6, right? So I'm gonna take everything like this and play knight d6. Of course, white should be better here.
So is there no way to get rid of this knight? Like, oh, the bishop on c8.
Bishop on c8, yeah.
So if
So this c5 is
rook,
probably the only tactical thing that's happening here, right?
right?
But even for this is no, but this looks rook c5, queen d6 is there, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe here maybe here I'll just go queen d6.
Right. Now there's no way not to trade because knight f6 is definitely coming.
Yeah. So if he trades, knight d6 comes and b7 and c8, some issues will be there, yeah, for sure.
After that, I mean, we're just gonna take on c8 and take on b7, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
this looks good. Actually, this also didn't happen in the game. Bishop f8, queen b3, something like this happened, and again, I think pretty much reached the same similar kind of position. Yeah, that d6 f6 squares what we.
Hmm. Interesting. But the concept overall is to recognize the weaknesses on the dark squares and try to avoid or get rid of the defenders.
Like
And
basically, yes. I mean, I think the most important thing is to understand that there are some trades which actually does remove attacking pieces, but with the removal of attacking pieces, you still get access to the weak squares, yeah? And that's how you can also secure an advantage.
mm,
Because here, I mean, let's just check the position from the beginning, yeah, with the computer. You can see, right? F4 actually looks more natural in the position because everybody knows that you need to attack and somehow get access to these points, right? But you see, the computer also prefers queen b4 in the position.
can you show me the other options it's showing? Show more lines.
Show more, multiple
Multiple
lines. This
lines.
one?
Yeah, put that to 5. Yeah. I'm curious what else does it say as ideas here?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even consider f4. Does it consider even rook f1? No. Doesn't seem like it.
No,
Can you see why?
I think no, f4, I'm sure bishop g7 will be played. And after rook
So
f1, okay, there is knight c5.
trading off our main first
Main
knight
attacker,
that was
yeah.
gonna take those squares basically, right?
And also here also there is some tactics like rook b6.
Wow. Yeah, then after the trades, he's still gonna play knight c5 and get rid of our knight. And if our knight is gone, then what's the point of getting those dark squares anyway?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
Okay. So you can, I mean, just to show you, yeah, like how queen b4 is much more powerful than f4, for example. So trading pieces, although you are removing some of your attackers, it's still a good option as long as you are also removing the defenders of important squares. I think
Right.
that's the concept we are taking from this one.
Got it.
Okay. Okay, no problem. So, okay, here also let's try. I mean, let me just remove all the moves here. How do you think white should proceed here?
Give me 1 second, actually. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second, Wish. I'll be right back.
Yeah, sure.
To plug in my laptop. 1 second. Okay, back.
Yeah.
So this one, I mean, this one's kind of hard to see exactly what's going on, but I do have a couple ideas, and you can tell me what you think.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I've considered is, like back rank is an issue for black, potentially, right? Rook A8 could come any second, bishop A3 can come, F8 is a problem. If that were to be able to play out, C6 is a good distraction to make that scenario happen because B takes C is not possible, and bishop A3 can become powerful. I also consider that knight is a pretty good defender of the bishop. Let's see if we can move this knight to expose that bishop on E7 somehow, combining the idea with the C6 idea. And
Mm-hmm.
additionally, I thought that maybe with the inclusion of E4, maybe some additional threats might come, like Queen G4 type of stuff, heading G7 as well. So, how to coordinate all these things, I'm not really sure, because after these C6 directly or not E4, I'm not sure what happens after E4, knight F6.
E4, I think I was thinking he's gonna go knight B4, yeah.
He'll play knight B4.
Mm-hmm.
I take, he takes D6.
Sorry, what?
Knight B4, Queen B4, C6 then.
C6, Rook C6.
Then I play,
You can play Rook A8 and Bishop A3, I guess.
yeah, I was trying to figure out which one I should play first. Yeah, let's go in that order. Rook A8 first, then Bishop A3.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay, so I think then E4 knight F6 I have to play, yeah?
Also on C6, did you have to take it with the rook? Could you have done B takes C6?
No, I think B takes C6 directly, Bishop A3 was coming, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I should be losing in this one, this endgame,
Mhm.
I mean.
Maybe
Okay,
even
no,
Queen D7 was possible. I don't know. Anyway, go
yeah,
ahead.
I think there will be something in favor of white for sure.
hmm
Okay, but let's say knight F6, for example.
hmm Yeah, I couldn't really see what else happens because I mean C6 now doesn't really, does it do anything? And Queen takes C6, then what? Knight E5. Queen can retreat back to like maybe even Queen C2 works.
Right now?
Not right now. I was looking at C6, Queen C6, Knight E5, Queen C2.
Okay.
No, wait, that doesn't work. Because I can take and play Rook A8 and Bishop A3. So the line that I'm looking at is basically um from here, play yeah, I was gonna try C6, Queen C6, Knight E5, Queen C2. I don't think it's working because Queen C2, Rook C2, Rook A8, Bishop F8, Bishop A3. Then maybe you can
Mm-hmm.
play Knight D7 in that scenario, I guess. No, you can't because my knight is on E5. So Queen C2 is not working after Knight E5. So where can his queen go? What if I just put it back on c5? And I can take on b7. So he has to guard b7 somehow also, right? But I don't know if after taking b7, it's not like I'm getting anything though. I have a great rook. I have an improved knight. My e4 pawn would be hanging. So queen takes e4 is also a possibility, I just realized. He would just do that.
Mm-hmm.
Or knight e5. What if to which I respond with can't play queen d7 or anything. If I play knight d7, what am I actually threatening? Knight takes, queen takes. Bishop f8, rook b7. I don't know. Um,
Looks a bit complicated, yeah?
I'm not sure exactly what's happening. I mean, if those are not the best moves even, so I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Um,
I actually wanted to just talk about this starting position first. So first of all, you realize, yeah, white is already a pawn up here, right? So all he has to probably do is like find which way he can win in the most easiest way, let's say. So that's what that's what should be our main goal.
mhm.
And there is a variation with Queen A1. Do you think this is like worth checking in the position?
Basically, if he can't just ignore it, right? Because if he does
Mm-hmm.
bishop f6 or something, we'll take on c8. Well, yeah. No, we'll play rook a8. Bishop b2, rook c8. So if he takes, we take with checkmate. Queen a1. If queen a1, queen c6, then what happens? Knight e5 or rook a8? Maybe knight e5, right?
Possible.
Queen has to move to like, wait. For queen a1, queen c6, I can just take on g7 too, right?
Sorry, for Queen A1, Queen?
If queen c6, I have queen bishop g7.
Yes, no, I think he will. So for I think two options. One, if he defends it, which I think is not a big problem for us, but we have to figure out what happens if Queen B3, yeah?
Well, we also have to consider if bishop g7 is actually doable. What happens after f6?
Exactly. So Bishop G7, F6, Bishop H6, and let's say Knight C3. Now what?
Maybe now is a good time to take advantage of the back rank. The rook is undefended. Um, Rook a8, knight e2, king g2, king f1 even. Queen, king g2, queen e4 is there. Queen, sorry, queen d5 is there. and then he can maybe slide back to somehow FC6 to defend or something like that. So maybe we have to go to F1. It's Queen D3. No, Queen D2 doesn't work. Rook C8 is there.
So I think you have to play king f1, yeah? Here itself. Because if you leave the back rank, then I think it's black who will be benefiting, yeah, way too much.
Yeah, after that trade, there's really nothing on the back rank anymore now, huh?
I mean, I don't think we can checkmate him, right? This is kind of well defended.
Right. I was thinking Queen H8, but I think he can just get out of that. King E8 and
Queen
stuff.
h8, I think he will just take on e2 if queen h8 comes. And he will even take this, yeah, even this is defended.
Oh, shoot. I didn't see. Yeah.
And this check is not so important as well, yeah.
Yeah, would be losing, definitely.
So I don't know. I mean, it looks a bit strange. So I'll tell you actually what White calculated during the game was Queen A1, and White actually expected they will defend this pawn. And after that, White will, so let's say Bishop F8, yeah, for example. And this was White's main plan actually, to play Queen A4.
In order to try to remove some defenders of C6.
And B7 as well, yeah.
Uh, so he was gonna take back with the rook or the pawn?
I
Rook, I'm
think
assuming.
I think no, now I mean it can be rook, but I think pawn
Oh,
is also not a bad idea. Although I think I can go for the rook, yeah. Anyway, he cannot take this, right?
the rook C4.
Not rook c4. I can directly take and backhand
Oh,
this
and
thing.
checkmate. Right, right.
So next move I will play b4, and at least white is a healthy pawn up, yeah, you can say.
Right.
So this was the idea. So you can say that white actually did spot the right idea, but there was an issue that white missed, that he can give up the pawn with queen b3. Now the thing is, this position is still better for us if you follow this bishop g7, bishop h6, knight c3, king f1, queen c2, and now there was this move king g2, which is probably very hard to understand. I have to check it once with the computer if this was the only variation left or not. So queen a1, yeah, queen a1, queen takes b3, bishop g7, f6, bishop h6, knight c3, king f1, queen c2, and now white has to play this move queen king g2. So this is not so easy to find over the board, yeah, you can say. I mean, you just play king f1 and then king g2, right?
Yeah.
And this is extremely computerish because I think the whole point was, if you take this, I take on b7, yeah? And if you take this, I just take here. And here, I think I'll just play f3.
Wow.
So somehow white king escapes. I mean, it's not like a perpetual check or something. And of course, you cannot take with queen e2 because queen c3 is there. So somehow in this variation, white still comes out on top. It's not at all expected, but white is still better here. But let's look at the solution, yeah? Solution is so simple. So you can see the top move, yeah? Queen c2. So this is defended, and the idea is just to play queen c4 next. So just trade queens. Automatically, you will win the b7 pawn, or your c5 pawn will be safeguarded. So this was the variation which was recommended by the computer. This, and now just takes, and rook b7. I'm pretty sure this kind of endgame will be much better for white here. He's a healthy pawn up, yeah, in the endgame. And of
Bishop
course,
C5, knight
no,
C5,
I
that's
will not trade. Yeah, I mean, I will not go into a rook endgame, right? I'll just come back and just play rook c2, king g2.
I
I mean,
see.
if anybody has some winning chances and can play a very long game, it has to be like white only, yeah, here.
Hmm. Understood. Yeah, I definitely would not have considered this at all. So the idea, can you go back one more time? Let me see if I can see from the initial position, how would I think about that?
Mm-hmm.
So the idea would be to recognize that B7 is a weakness and that black rank is a weakness and queen is the only defender of B7 and I'm up a pawn. I didn't even consider that I'm up a pawn. I didn't even see that, honestly. So I
Mm-hmm.
needed to have recognized that and just see like, okay, I'm up a pawn already. How can I maintain that pawn A and B? How can I just simply win that B7 pawn, right? By removing all
Mm-hmm.
its defenders. And the simplest way to do that would be to queen C2 and queen C4.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yeah,
after queen C2,
exactly.
can black avoid this trade?
If he avoids the trade, then I think white will just play b4 and everything will be like white will just remain a pawn up, yeah.
After queen C2, let's just say he plays uh H6 or something.
Mm-hmm.
H.
Still, I think queen c4.
And
And
if
now
I
you want,
try to defend this position by playing queen,
I mean, you have just three squares, so
yeah, okay, let's just say there.
and and now I'll just play b4, yeah. And now I'm like a happy pawn up without any problems. No compensation for black, right?
Mm, yeah, true.
So this was actually very interesting because I used to like I mean, I couldn't figure out one thing, how white found this idea but missed this idea, because I'm very sure if this was the situation here, queen a4 is actually a very good move.
Mm-hmm.
You can see, yeah, white maintains his advantage, but
Mm-hmm.
somehow this allowed queen b3, which, like, okay, ended in a draw after some time, but still there was some chances for white. But queen c2, queen c4 is like very strong. So this also sometimes just shows that in a position where your opponent is, just able to create some tactics or some attack, trading is a good option to get rid of his attackers as well. And in this position, actually, you can see the queen is the only piece, yeah, which actually is defending, is creating attacks, and all the complications is pretty much created by the queen only. Black's other pieces are not doing anything yet. I mean, the rook is tied down to back rank, the bishop is tied down to g7. Knight is well placed, but not doing anything in particular.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't really think about it like the queen is the defender type of way. I was thinking approaching this position more like how can I make tactically this like the awkward positioning of the pieces work.
Mm-hmm.
So this is very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
But it was still a bit, you can say, surprising for me as well. Although I will just put the whole game for you. I will also say that one of my partners who saw this game, for him this was very quick. I mean, he was just analyzing my game, not like a real analysis. He was also one of the like players who was playing in the event. So he had a glance to my board, and after the game, he told me that why I didn't, like, go queen c to queen c4. So for him, it was very natural.
Hmm. You were white in this game?
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Once you explain it, I mean, it makes perfect sense. You can see the reality of the position. Black's down a pawn,
Yes.
b7 is weak. Queen is the only one that's attacking all these pieces. But these are scenarios that I think it's question of finding the signal through the noise, right?
I
Like
think
we say
yes, yeah.
hindsight is 2020, meaning that when we look back at different events, we're like, oh, we could have predicted that. But in
Mhm.
reality, it would have been very difficult to predict and not find that particular pattern amongst millions of other possibilities. So I feel like whenever I see these positions, once you explain it and I see it, I'm like, oh crap, that's so simple. I totally makes sense. But then when you try to isolate that particular idea out of the hundreds of ideas that exist in a position, it's not so simple, right? Like
Mhm.
for example, here I
Yeah.
was considering like all these things, like can I get the b7 pawn to move? Can I discoordinate the knight and the bishop with the rook? Can I take advantage of the back rank? Can I take advantage of g7? All these are ideas too. So I feel like in some positions it's much like in that one position I solved it pretty quickly. It was very obvious, but in these positions it's not so obvious at all to me, at least.
Mhm. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's something and this is something which you can actually learn from either from your mistakes or by seeing other people's game, yeah. It's not something which just comes to you from any books or something.
But here, if you don't find queen c2 and you play any of these other choices, it's not necessarily. I mean, do you think it's a mistake if you play
No,
h4?
I don't think it's a mistake, but I think you are not improving your position as well. Yeah, like what's your winning plan, for example? Like for
Mm,
example, here I can see that let's say h4 is given like the same advantage, yeah. But I don't know why I'm playing h4. Like what do I get after h4?
hmm
But with queen c2, queen c4, I can clearly understand, yeah, what I'm trying to do. So I'm trying to
Right.
just trade queens and take rook b7, yeah, simplifying the position.
Yeah,
So
very
I can
direct.
understand. I can actually understand that. Bishop t4, I can understand why it's played, obviously to defend the pawn, yeah. But
Yeah,
again, I still have to find something which gives me the advantage. Here it's still like I'm defending.
right.
E4 as the same thing. I mean, I think e4 I did consider during the game, by the way. But e4, I think I rejected it because of knight f6 only. I mean, I couldn't figure out if this is good for me because now rook d8 is a real threat, yeah. So I was not very sure if this makes sense to me, or I should just keep my pawn here to defend the knight, which defends the pawn. Yeah. So maybe the pawn on e2 is pretty good.
hmm
I did figure out I have to trade the queens, but I only considered queen a1, queen a4. I didn't consider this at all. So it's also seems that it's not just the idea. You also need to have the precise time and also the move order, yeah, of your idea. Everything somehow matters here.
Right.
But yeah, this concept is pretty good. I think, I mean, so many positions we saw, yeah, that even trading queens is like a good attacking way. It's just not an attack on the king way, but it's a good attacking way in the position. Like, for example, here, yeah, imagine if the queens get traded off, this rook becomes a very good attacker, right?
Yeah.
And black cannot defend the pawn, yeah? Rook b8, there is bishop e5, rook c7, some back rank issues. So all of a sudden, it looks like black is lost, at least losing a
Right.
pawn.
This is a lot about just basically being able to find your opponent's most active piece that's holding his position together and trying to find a way to get rid of that guy.
Get rid of it, yes.
Even if it means giving up your own active pieces in the
Yes,
process.
even if it means like trading your own active pieces, including the queen.
Yeah. You got to think about it from the net end result. I have attackers, he has attackers. He has weaknesses, I don't have weakness. His attacker is helping defend his weaknesses and attack me. Let's get rid of the attackers on each side. He's left with weakness, I don't have weakness. Right? Something
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, Rafi, I think for today we'll have to wrap it up here. I actually have to
Okay.
be at some place.
Okay.
So let's finish now, and I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try to meet again tomorrow. No
Sure.
promises. I have a lot of stuff, but I'll let you know.
I know. Just give me a text when you get free. I'll
Okay.
give you a text as soon as my schedule is open.
Okay. Sounds good, man. Thank you.
Thank you. See you
All
then.
right. Bye.
Bye.